Hello, good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
Right, okay, I'm audible, right?
Good evening,
Good
madam.
evening, very good evening to you all. And last time we did Piaget's theory, am I right?
Yes, madam.
Could we finish that? If I remember right, a small part remaining, am I right? Stages. Can you give me feedback?
Yes, madam. We did on the sensory motor stage and the pre-operational stage.
Then there are 2 stages remaining for us for the discussion, right? Okay, thank you very much for the update, and let me share my PowerPoint with you. Any questions until I share my PowerPoint? Anything that you want to ask about Piaget or whatever that I discuss? No. I couldn't send you the materials, right?
No, madam.
First one you received.
Yes, we received the first session.
Yeah. Then I will send you today's one. It's going to be the same as last week because we are continuing. Session 2 and 3, I'll be sending you. Okay, tonight itself, you will receive it through Mr. Rishad. Right then. So we started last week, we started our unit 2, developmental psychology or lifespan development. This is what we discuss under lifespan development. Hope that you're seeing the slides now. Define lifespan development, growth and development, aspects of development of the whole child, like cognitive, social aspect, emotional aspect, motor development like that, moral development like that. So factors that affect child's growth and development, what are the 2 factors we discuss? What are the factors affecting lifespan development we discuss? Nature versus nurture. If not heredity versus environment. And then the other one, maturity versus learning. Then we actually started our discussion on theories of lifespan development. Under theories, we have 5 theories lined up. We started with Piaget's theory of cognitive development. So Piaget discusses cognitive development. So it's one of the aspects of development, cognitive development. So according to Piaget, how then if we take Piaget, we discuss Piaget under three components. The three components are underlying principles, and then the cognitive process, and then the stages of cognitive development. If you take Piaget's cognitive development theory, underlying principles are cognitive development happens with age. Cognitive development happens in stages. Age may vary, never the sequence. And you know by now what it means. And then we looked at the cognitive process. Then we looked at the terms coined by Piaget himself as schema, assimilation, accommodation, and equilibration. And then move to the third component, that is stages of cognitive development: sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and formal operational stage. We actually discussed the stages referring to 5 columns of criteria. මොනවාද 5 columns කියලා criteria කියලා කියන්න මට? Name of the stage, age, then how cognitive development happens, key features and remarkable cognitive development, and the study done. ඔයගලන්ට මං කියනේව තේරුණාද?
Yes, madam.
Now,
Yes, ma'am.
silent හිටියා මට හිතෙන්නේ නැහැ තේරුණාද නැද්ද කියලා. ඒ ටික මතකයි නේද ඔයගලන්ට?
Yes, madam.
Right. So the first 2 stages we finished the discussion. So I ask you, you can respond. What is now stage 1? What is the name of the stage?
Sensory motor stage.
Very good. What is the age specified?
From birth to 2 years.
Okay, very good. How does cognitive development happen in first stage?
Through the sensory input and motor activities.
Very good. You're clever. Right. Then what are the significant cognitive development that it shows they have matured and they are ready to move on to the next stage? In the first stage, what is the key feature or the highest cognitive ability the child masters?
Object permanence.
Very good. Object permanence. Object permanence means child's understanding that people and things are not to be seen, heard, or smelled. They exist. Very good. So what is the study done? Blanket ball study. What is it? Blanket ball study. So the child is here, you show a ball and put it in under the blanket, and the child doesn't look for it. He has not developed object permanence. He's not ready to move on to the second stage. But if the child looks for it, even if it is not to be seen, he has developed object permanence, that cognitive ability, and he's ready to move on to the second stage. Good. So we will go to the second stage. What is the name of the second stage?
Pre-operational stage.
Very good. What is the age specified?
From 2 years to 7 years.
Very good. How does cognitive development happen?
In this stage, the child gets the ability to represent objects by using images and words. They improve language skills.
Play activities are very important. initial stages play activities, make believe games. ඒ කියන්නේ තමන් තව කෙනෙක් කියලා හිතාගෙන they play and they use other props to represent different things, a broom for the airplane. So those kind of play activities are very helpful in their cognitive development. And at the same time, towards the latter part, and they ask lots of questions. Why it is red color, why it is not blue, why it is not black, why it is small, why it is round in shape, like that. They ask one after the other a train of questions. That also helps them to actually develop their cognition. Okay,
Yes, madam.
yeah. Now I actually get you to the background noise is very distracting. Sasna, if your background noise is good. Right. Then we go to the third stage. We did not discuss the third stage now. Now the name of the stage, concrete operational stage. What is the name of the stage? Concrete operational stage. What is the age? From 7 to 11 years. From 7 to 11 years, school-going child. From 7 to 11 years. So how does cognitive development happens in the third stage? Right? How does cognitive development happens in the third stage? Pre-operation, concrete operation, no, through concrete experiences. This is actually wrong. The third stage is not pre-operational. It is actually concrete operational, right? Concrete operational. So how does the child develop cognition? That is through concrete experiences given to the child. That is very important. Stage 3, we call it concrete operational. Concrete operational. So the child develops cognition through concrete experiences presented to the child. What is meant by concrete experiences? Now, if you want to actually talk to them about a kind of a horse, you want to talk to them about a horse. So you can't just go on explaining what it looks like and this is the horse and all that. Instead, you have to make it a concrete experience for them by showing them a picture. By showing them a picture, you show them, this is a horse. I will give you another example. Now the child is in the primary grades, school-going child. Now you want to ask this question from the child in mathematics. My mother gave me 5 apples. I ate 2. I gave 1 to my sister. My father brought another 5 apples. How many apples remaining? Now the child can't actually calculate it, do the sum mentally, because the child needs concrete experiences in order to comprehend something. So the child will actually draw apples. My mother gave me 5 apples. He will draw 5 apples. I ate 1, he will cut 1. I gave 2 to my sister, he cut 2. And father gave me another 5, he will add another 5 apples. And then he can count it and say, there are 7 apples remaining. Because he can't mentally calculate it. Because he needs concrete operations, concrete situations to comprehend. So the child develops cognition through concrete experiences presented to the child. Is it clear to you?
Yes, madam.
That is why the teachers use lots of visuals in the primary grades, really are in the primary grades. Give them hands-on experiences in the primary grades. Then they can see, they can hear, they can actually touch, and they can work with it, and then they can understand. Abstract thinking is not capable of. They are not capable of abstract thinking. Working with the mind, right? That is not possible. So you have to create concrete experiences for them. Through the concrete experiences presented to them, they develop their cognition. Now, that is why in grade 1, to teach numbers, you use an abacus. To teach words, you use visual aids and realia, because then you're creating concrete experiences for them. Okay, neither. Right. Now we move to the next. The third stage, during the concrete operational stage, what are the key features? If not major cognitive development, significant cognitive development happens during the third stage. I can give you several. You can take it down. One is classification, very significant cognitive development, their ability to classify. Seriation, reversibility, and finally the key feature, conservation. So we will take one by one and discuss. Okay, we'll take one by one. Stage 3, concrete operational stage, from 7 to 11 years, the primary school child, and he develops his cognition through concrete experiences presented to them. And the remarkable, significant cognitive development happens in the third stage is classification, seriation, reversibility, conservation. Right. We'll take one by one. What is classification? Now look at this picture. Right? Are there more dogs or animals? So they have to classify. Animals ko may ඔක්කොම අයිති. But dogs කිව්වම 4 දෙනයි අයිති, or 3 දෙනයි අයිති, or whatever. So if not, you can actually, in English book, you can say, you give them names of flowers, names of vegetables, names of fruits, and you get them to classify. They write it in 3 columns, maybe pictures. They are fruits, they are flowers, they are whatever. That is classification, right? Even in other subjects, if it is environmental studies, flowers with lots of petals, flowers with 5 petals, flowers with 1 petal, like that, you can them to classify. Because it's a cognitive development that happens in this stage, a remarkable one. So we actually make use of that in our teaching and learning process. If you look at books, classification is very common technique in all the subjects. Okay. Second one, seriation. Now you can see seriation here in the second column. Second picture here, look at this picture. From large to small. Examples, if I'm to give in mathematics class, ascending order and descending order. In the primary grades, we teach them. Rearrange the numbers in the ascending order, in the descending order. If it is English language class, write the words in the alphabetic order. Write the words in the alphabetic order. Likewise, in the art class, right? You can actually use art and craft from biggest to the smallest. Shades, dark colors to the light colors. Likewise, we actually get them to develop their seriation, and that ability is used to teach subject matter. It's a significant cognitive development. And then the third one, reversibility. Reversibility, I can give you an example. Now look at this picture. Now they are all jumbled, but they actually put it in a kind of a proper shape. I will give you one more thing. Now, initially we teach them 2 plus 2 equals to 4. 2 plus 2 equals 4. But later on, we give them 2 plus blank equals 4. Then they have to work backward, reversibility. That ability comes to them in the latter part of stage 3 concrete operation stage. Then conservation. Look at conservation. Conservation is the ability to understand the volume and space, etc. Now, I will give an example for conservation. Here, look at this. Here, there are 2 glasses of same size, short and spout, B and C. Then in front of the child, you pour water in one of the glasses to A. A is not of the same shape. It is tall and thin glass, right? Tall and thin glass. Then when you pour water in B to A, it actually is like this, but the same amount of water. But if you ask the child which glass has more water, if the child says A has more water, child has not developed the concept of conservation. But if the child says both have the same, because this is short and spout, this is tall and thin, so the same amount only that you poured, the child has developed the concept of conservation. Another example here, you look at this. The 3 balls. In picture A, you can see they are spread of equal length. The spread is of equal length. But in the picture B, you have one of small space and the other, you have actually spaced it out. If the child says this bottom line has more teeth, the child has not developed concept of conservation. The child should understand it's the same number of teeth, but it is spread. That ability is there. The child has developed the concept of conservation. I can give you another example if you want. Now you take 2 balls, clay balls of same size. The 2 clay balls of same size. In front of the child, you flatten one. You flatten one to a roti shape. And you ask the child which has more clay. If the child says the roti shape has more clay, child has not developed the concept of conservation. If the child says both have same quantity, child has developed concept of conservation. That is the key feature. Conservation, the child's ability to understand conservation. That is the highest cognitive ability. And there are significant cognitive abilities before that: classification, seriation, reversibility. And then the highest cognitive ability of the 3rd stage is conservation. So what is the study done to prove this? It is Beaker study. This is what I explained to you, Beaker study. Beaker study. Any questions about the 3rd stage? Any questions about the 3rd stage?
Excuse me, madam.
Yeah.
So spatial ability means the same as conservation ability.
Spatial means now it's not the space, but it is spread. So it is longer, but they have to know there are only 5 teeth. As it is longer line, they might think, they might say, it has more teeth. Emma kivoting The child has not developed the concept of conservation. Are you okay?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. Then any other question? No. Right. So we can move on to the fourth stage. We can move on to the fourth stage. The fourth stage is fourth stage is formal operational stage. Formal operational stage. That is from 11 plus. 11 plus. Now the child is a teenager. 11 plus. Okay. If you take 11 plus, formal operational stage of cognitive development, how does development take place? Development takes place through abstract thinking. Cognitive development happens through abstract thinking, abstract logical thinking. So the child is capable of thinking. If you tell the child, right, kindness, you can't show anything concrete about kindness. So the child is capable of understanding this abstract concept. So the child develops his cognition through abstract thinking during formal operations. It is 11 plus. So they are capable of logical thinking, abstract thinking, imagination, etc. So now you look at this picture. What do you think this painting is saying? So based on your abstract thinking ability, critical thinking ability, imagination, student A might see it's actually autumn. It depicts autumn. So some other student might say it depicts pollution. It depicts pollution. So it all depends on your own thinking. Very creative, very imaginative, very logical in your thinking. So what is the highest cognitive ability or the key feature? That is abstract thinking once again. The learner's ability to understand abstract concepts, that is the highest cognitive ability. And what is the study done over and over? The study is pendulum task. Pendulum, Pendulum. Pendulum is the batta. In the clock, you have a pendulum. It's the batta. Okay. Pendulum task. Now you get the learner, right? The study done. You get the learner, right? Calculate the highest speed that the pendulum can go. Calculate the highest speed that the pendulum can go. If the child changes several variables at the same time, the child has not developed logical thinking and abstract thinking. If the child changes one variable at a time, variables monod, weight of the pendulum, weight of the pendulum, weight of the push you give, the length of the string, variables. So one variable at a time he changes. He has developed logical thinking. He tries to change one or two or three variables at the same time. He has not developed his logical thinking to the maximum. So pendulum task is he the study done to see whether the child has developed logical thinking and abstract thinking. There's another common study that you ask the learner, you ask the child, which is heavier, a kilo of iron or kilo of wool? I'm asking you, which is heavier, a kilo of iron or kilo of wool? I ask you a question. Which is heavier, a kilo of iron or kilo of wool?
Both
Kilo
weigh
of
the same.
iron.
Right. That some said kilo of iron. If it is a kilo, it doesn't matter whether it's iron or wool. There will be big amount of wool, but iron would be small amount. But the weight, it's a kilo. It's the same. So some of you, even now, maybe you're in your 20s, 30s, you actually got it mixed up. So that means you need to develop your thinking more. Very logical, very hypothetical, very imaginative, very critical, and all. And that ability comes to you during formal operations. Okay. So the key feature is abstract thinking and logical thinking. And the study done is actually, they say pendulum task, or there's another one actually. Now, you have only two eyes. You're going to be blessed with the third eye. Where do you want it to have? Without thinking much, tell me, where do you want it to have? Quickly. You have two eyes. You're going to be having another one. Where do you want to have it? උත්තර දෙන්න ඕනි dear. Hmm? ඒක ලබා ගන්න. අයියෝ අනේ උත්තර දෙන්නකෝ. Am I audible to you? Am I not audible?
Madam, can you please repeat the question?
Right. Now you have two eyes now. ඇස් දෙකක් තියෙනවා. Now you are going to get a third eye. තුන්වෙනි ඇහත් දෙන්න යනවා. So where do you want to have the third eye?
Behind my head.
Yeah, if you are very logical in thinking, you will want it behind your head, at the back of your head. Why? Then you don't have to turn back and see. But if you're not very logical in your thinking, you're still not there. You will want it in between the two eyes, right? But some adults have said, I want it in between the two eyes. Some have said, I want it at the back of my head, because then I don't have to turn and see the back. Yeah, right. So those are some examples, but normally the study done of formal operation stage, at the formal operation stage, to see whether they have developed their abstract thinking and logical thinking, is the pendulum task. One variable at a time only that they have to change to calculate the highest speed that it can go. Right. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Yes, madam.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. So what are teacher implications? What are teacher implications of Piaget's cognitive development theory? මොනවද teachersලට තියෙන මේකේ වාසිය? මොනවද මේකෙන් ගන්න පුළුවන් insights? The insights that the teachers can get කියන එක තමයි අපි හිතන්න ඕනේ. මොනවද ගන්න තියෙන්නේ? If they are very young children, give them lots of sensory and motor experiences. Sensory experiences and motor activities. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
because it helps them to develop their cognition. And when it comes to primary children, no, when it's come to early childhood children, if you are into early childhood education, give them actually play time. Play helps them in cognitive development and develop their language because it helps in cognitive development. And always actually respond to their questions because they are curious. Because of that, they ask questions non-stop and don't take it a kind of burden or trouble, but help them by responding to them in a very intelligent way. And when it comes to primary children, they can understand only concrete situations. So always make sure that you use visual aids, you use realia, pictures, hands-on experiences, field trips. අපි හිතමු market එකක් ගැන කියලා දෙන්න ඕන, you have to take them to the market. Then only they understand what market is. Because concrete situations should be created. And when they are actually in upper grade, secondary school, give them opportunities to develop their abstract thinking by using advanced methodologies, right? And opportunities for creativity, imagination, etc. And one more thing, wait till the readiness comes. Wait till the readiness comes. Because cognitive development happens in significant stages. So until that you reach there, until that you reach that age, right? Age may vary, but he specifies age. It's age related. So until the readiness comes, you have to wait. Otherwise, learning is a kind of a traumatic experience. But when the child is ready to do them, then of course it's an enjoyable activity. So there is something called readiness. That is, appropriate age is there. As I told you, as soon as a child is born, you can't get it to walk, you can't get it to speak, no? So we have the blueprint. So the blueprint makes you ready for that. Once the readiness is there, you get them to actually engage in subsequent learning. Otherwise, learning will become a traumatic experience. So those are the teacher insights, educational implications of Piaget's theory of cognitive development. So for exam purpose, you need to actually study Piaget. Piaget discusses cognitive development, and you have to discuss Piaget in 3 components. First component, underlying principles. I actually revised it today also. Then the cognitive processes like schemata, assimilation and accommodation in changing schemata or development, and the equilibration. And then the stages of cognitive development, the 4 stages referring to name of the stage, age specified, how does cognitive development happens, the important developmental tasks and the key feature, and then the study done. That is it. And we discuss teacher implications of Piaget's theory of cognitive development. So it's a beautiful theory. It's a useful theory. Its utility value is very high. The teachers have, educationists have lots of insights in this theory. Okay, right. Before I move on to the next theory of development, not cognitive, we discuss cognitive development. Any questions? Any questions?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Are you doing your regular studies? Regular study කරනවද? මොනවාද recording එක ආයි නැවත අහනවද? short notes හදනවද? ඒව කරනවද? What's it? No. Right. If you are not into the habit of doing your regular studies, please make sure weekly basis that you do so. Listen to the recording another 2 hours and make your own notes. And when I send you the materials, read them and be thorough with it. Okay, a word of advice. Now we go to the second theory. Now look at these theories of lifespan development. We finish our discussion on Piaget's theory of cognitive development. That is done. What is next? What is next? This is done. What is next?
Psychosexual theory of Sigmund Freud.
Psychosexual theory of Sigmund Freud. Psychosexual theory of Sigmund Freud. So we are going to do that now. So look at this. Sigmund Freud and his psychosexual theory of personality development. Right? Psychosexual theory of personality development. Actually speaking, personality is the ultimate goal of education. Development of one's personality. So personality can be developed, right? So it is also a matter of nature versus nurture, etc. But still, ultimate goal of education is the development of a balanced personality. So, how development happens, personality development happens by discussing psychosexual theory. Now, when it comes to Sigmund Freud, you know, now Piaget is from cognitive school of thought, right? He talks about cognitive development as well. So he is from cognitive school of thought. What about Sigmund Freud? What about Sigmund Freud? We discussed on the first day, the schools of thought කියලා. Sigmund Freud is the father of this school of thought. ඒ මමත කරලා ඉගෙන ගන්න බෑ. What is the school of thought Sigmund Freud belongs to? අපි 4 major schools of thought කියලා කතා කරා. Behaviorism, cognitivism, psychoanalysis and humanistic කියලා. So Sigmund Freud is the father of psychoanalysis school of thought. Very good. Father of psychoanalysis school of thought. And he proposes this psychosexual theory of personality development. Right. Now you know psychosexual theory comes from psychoanalysis school of thought. එහෙමනම් අපි දන්නවා existence of the unconscious mind, childhood experiences stored in the unconscious mind are the assumptions of psychoanalysis, father of psychoanalysis school of thought. So you know he actually grounded this theory on the belief or the assumption. What is the belief or the assumption? The existence of the unconscious mind and the childhood experiences stored in the unconscious mind. Will help you to remember them. Right. So if you want to actually discuss Sigmund Freud's psychosexual theory of personality development, you have to discuss it in 3 components once again. You have to discuss it in 3 components once again. So, what are the 3 components? What are the 3 components? First one, you know, 3 parts of the mind. 3 parts of the mind. Second one, 3 parts of the personality. 3 parts of our personality. Third one, stages of personality development. Stages of personality development. So you have to discuss Sigmund Freud in 3 parts. First, take a parts of 3 components, parts of the mind. Second, take a parts of the personality. Third, take a stages of cognitive development. Stages of cognitive development. Right. Now it is 8:20. Can you give me 2-3 minutes? Don't leave the meeting. I will be back in 3 minutes. Is it okay?
Okay, madam.
Right. Don't leave the meeting.
Okay, madam.
Okay. I'm back. Are you there?
Yes, madam.
Hello?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So we have about 18. Hardly speak, no? There is Gajas Savory, Pasaha, Imaza, Hazini, Hansamali, Jayana, Buddhika, Mufa, Nipuni, Pavani, Piyumi, Silmia, Sumaya. Are you there? All of you?
Yes, madam. Yes,
Right,
madam.
okay. Hari, එහෙනම් කමක් නැහැ. Okay, right. Now we are looking at Sigmund Freud. As I told you, Sigmund Freud belongs to psychoanalysis school of thought. They believe in existence of the unconscious mind and the childhood experiences stored in the unconscious mind in shaping one's behavior and personality. Okay. So if we want to study Sigmund Freud's psychosexual theory of personality development, we have to look at 3 components. Piaget අපි components තුනක් බැලුවා. Sigmund Freud ගෙත් components තුනක් තියෙනවා. මොනවද ඒ components තුන? The first one, stages of the mind, parts of the mind. And then the parts of the personality is the second thing. And the third one is the stages of psychosexual development. So we are going to discuss it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
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 Right. Very good. So we will first take the first component. First take the first component. That is parts of our mind. So as you all they actually brought in revolutionary change into psychology by introducing the three parts of the mind by drawing the iceberg analogy comparison. Iceberg analogy or the comparison. So for the first time, they said our mind has three parts: conscious, preconscious, unconscious. And to talk about the three parts of the mind, he drew an analogy. The mind was compared to an iceberg. So this part, of course, we have discussed, but it's there in the Freud's theory. Look at the conscious mind. It is compared to the tip of the iceberg, what is above sea level. And it's only a small part, and it is less than 10% of the whole mind. What is stored in the conscious mind is thoughts, feelings, emotions, temperaments. That is going on in our mind right now, and we are aware of it. It's going on in our mind right now, and we are aware of it. Now, I go on talking. You keep on silent, right? Maintaining silence. And I'm bored now because no responses from the other side. So I'm aware of my feelings. And you might think, Ayo, she goes on talking. We don't understand. It's like Greek, and I'm angry with the lecturer. You are aware of the feelings. They are right here in your mind. So you're aware of them. That is the conscious mind. Less than 10% of your whole mind. Right. Come to this mind. Preconscious mind is compared to the seen through part of the iceberg. A small part underwater can be seen through, and it's actually blurred, not very clear. So that preconscious mind is also less than 10% of the whole mind. Less than 10% of the whole mind. What is stored in the preconscious? At will, you can retrieve the experiences, emotions, knowledge, information stored in the preconscious mind. Right? So now, right at the moment, you're not thinking of what we discussed in Piaget. Now, as you mentioned Piaget, now you are recalling it. Otherwise, you are not thinking. That is your preconscious mind. Okay? Then the next third part of our mind is the unconscious mind. Unconscious mind is compared to the submerged part of the iceberg. It is underwater. You can't see that. It's sunk in water. And in the iceberg, it's the largest part. Similarly, in the mind, it is the largest part. It is more than 80% of the whole mind. And what is stored in the unconscious mind? That, of course, you and I don't know. According to Sigmund Freud and his followers from the psychoanalysis school of thought, what is stored in the unconscious mind is the conflicts in the childhood when it comes to libido fulfillment. That is more than 80% of your whole mind. And your adult personality is like this because of what is stored in that unconscious mind. What is stored in that unconscious mind. Okay. Then we go to the second part of the second component of Sigmund Freud's psychosexual theory of personality development. What is the second part I told you?
Parts of personality.
What is the second part? Very good. Parts or
Personality
components of
Personality.
personality. Very good. Personality. Very good. According to Sigmund Freud, our personality has three parts. They are termed as id, ego, superego. You can see the words on the screen. Id, personality. Id, ego, superego. Id, ego, superego. Right? They are the components of a personality, parts of a personality. So let's see what they mean. First, the id. When the child is born, up to 1 year, when the child is born and up to 1 year, birth up to 1 year, the child has only the id component or part of our personality. Id, part of personality. As you see the picture or the image, you can see it is actually the naughty fellow, right? Naughty fellow. That means from birth up to 1 year, you have only the id component of your personality, and id is driven by pleasure-seeking principle. The fulfillment of instincts. Pleasure-seeking principle or fulfillment of instincts. Pleasure-seeking principle. So when the child is born from birth up to 1 year, the child has only id component of the personality. Id is driven by pleasure-seeking principle. That means you actually want pleasure. The child wants pleasure. The child can't wait. The child can't postpone. The child can't distinguish between right and wrong. Instead, whatever he wants it. That is from birth up to 1 year. Because the child has only id component of personality driven by pleasure-seeking principle. Right. Then go to the second component of the personality. The second component is ego. Ego component. Ego emerges by the age of 1 and completes by the age of 3. So ego is present from 1 year to 3 years. So that means when the child is 3 years, the child has id and ego both. When the child is 2 years, the child has id and ego both. Now the ego personality is driven by realistic principle. Realistic principle, yatarthavadi. Now if the child is hungry, the child will wait till the mother is seen to be and then cry. Realistic. That composes 1 year to 3 years. Okay. Then the third component of personality, that is the superego. Third component of personality, that is the superego. Superego emerges from 3 years to 5 years. Between 3 years to 5 years. The third component of our personality, that is superego, emerges. Okay. That superego is driven by moralistic principle, morals. M-O-R-A-L-I-S-T-I-C. Moralistic principle. That means now superego has the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. Superego has the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. What is right, what is wrong. So this part, the superego part of personality, emerges by the age of 3 and completes it by the age of 5. Driven by moralistic principle, the child develops the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. So these are the 3 components of personality. Right. I will get one of you to talk about the 3 components of personality. I'm listening. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Give it a try. Yeah. Yeah. Can one of you talk about the 3 components of personality?
Three components of the personality are first one is id, second is ego, and the third is superego. It says about giving pleasure-seeking principles. That is, baby cries without knowing the mother is present or absent. When she wants something, it cries.
That is
the
only an
first
example,
part.
right? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is an example. Second is the ego part. That is from age 1 to 3. That is from 1 to 3, realistic age. That is when baby wants something, it cries until mother is seen. Third one is super ego part. That is 3 to 5 years. That is through realistic principle. The child can distinguish what.
No, superego, moralistic.
Yes, yeah, moralistic principles.
Distinguish
Okay,
between
ego
right
is the
and wrong is moralistic. Yeah.
Yeah, the second is only the
Yeah,
realistic.
very good. Yeah. Now, by the age of 5, thank you very much. It's a very good explanation. What's your name, dear?
I am Shafra.
Shafra, very good. Very well done. So, actually speaking, by the age of 5, the child actually develops all the 3 components of personality. Okay, the child develops all the 3 components of personality. We will see. I will give you an everyday example. Now, we are born with libidos, bodily need fulfillment, physiological needs are there. So when the child actually is in the first stage, only personality is available from birth up to 1 year. The child will not wait. The child will actually cry for gratification. It becomes intense. But when the child is from 1 to 3 years, the ego component of personality emerges, driven by realistic principle. The child learns to wait, postpone, and all that. And in this third stage, from 3 to 5 years, the third component, superego component, emerges. And driven by moralistic principle, the child is capable of distinguishing between right or wrong. Okay. And then, in a balanced personality, by the age of 5, all the 3 components of personality is available. I ask you this question, in a balanced personality, which should be the dominant part, dominant personality figure, component, in a balanced personality, what should be the
Ego.
dominant part? You're correct, ego. Because now suppose in psychology books, it's there. Now, when you become a teenager, you get sexual desires, drives, attractions, and all that. But we are Sri Lankans. In Sri Lankan context, culture, you can't actually engage in sex until you get married. So what happens? So your ego makes you to postpone it until you are married. Okay? So you postpone it until you are married. Ego balances it out. උපතිමාව desires තිනවා id. you have to fulfill this. Superego කියනවා, no, it's wrong. That is not right. You have to get married and then only that you can fulfill them. So ego කියනවා, wait until you get married and fulfill. Superego කියන්නේ, no, it's not right to do. Moralistic. It's not right. You don't have to. But ego කියනවා, no, it's all right. They are natural feelings that you have to wait till you get married and postpone it. Wait. That is ego. So ego balances out the personality. In a balanced personality, ego component is the stronger component. That is about the parts of the components of personality in ego, superego. Then the third part of Sigmund Freud's psychosexual theory of personality development is stages of psychosexual development. So you're making notes while listening, right? Stages of psychosexual development. So we are going to look at 5 criteria and talk about them. Piaget api pahak diya bala kata kara each stage. Api Sigmund Freud get criteria pahak diya bala kata karana. Otherwise it's vast. Right. What are the criteria? You can look at the grid and tell me name of the stage. Ilagata.
Second one is ages.
Yeah, very good. Third,
Focus of libido.
focus of libido, like a body part. I will explain it, okay? Then third, fourth,
Major development.
major development, life events. Fifth one,
Adult fixation exam.
adult
Adult
fixation or
behavior.
deviation. Fixation or deviation. So, we are going to discuss the 5 stages. Actually, according to Sigmund Freud, psychosexual development of personality happens in 5 stages. You can see oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Right. So, this is the basic assumption. We are born with bodily needs. We are born with bodily needs, according to Sigmund Freud. If not sexual desires or bodily desires, we all individuals, human beings, are born with bodily desires. He terms it libido. You can see the word here, libido, L-I-B-I-D-O. These bodily needs that we have, we are born with, they are the libidos. Right? So, at different ages, the bodily need stimulation or gratification. We need stimulation and gratification of a body part, a libido. And that differs from age to age. According to Sigmund Freud's psychosexual theory of personality development. I repeat, we are born with bodily desires to be gratified. And these bodily desires to be gratified, they are centered around some body parts. The body parts that we need gratification and stimulation differ at different ages. For example, from birth up to 1 year, the child seeks gratification of the body part that is mouth, tongue, lip. If you take the second stage from 1 to 3 years, the child needs gratification and stimulation in the anus. That is the body part. So accordingly, different ages have different body parts or erogenic zones or EUROGENIC. erogenic zone, ZONE. ආයි මං කියන්නම් ERU erogenics, EUROGENIC erogenic zone, ZONE. That is the particular body part that we need stimulation at different ages. According to the body part we need stimulation, the name of the stage is given by Sigmund Freud. So we will discuss it. First stage is oral stage, ORAL. You can look at this grade, okay? First stage is oral stage. Oral stage is from birth up to 1 year. Because it specify age. Birth up to 1 year, the child is in oral stage. Why the child is in oral stage? Because his erogenic stimulation is the mouth, tongue, and the lip. It's around the mouth. From birth up to 1 year. If the child needs stimulation and gratification of the body part, the mouth, during the first stage, birth up to 1 year, what will be the major development of the life event? The most important life event for the gratification of the mouth? What can it be? The child is from birth up to 1 year. The body part of the erogenic zone that the child seeks gratification is the mouth. What is the most important life event of the child for the gratification of mouth?
Drinking milk from the mother?
Definitely, yes. You call it feeding. Definitely, yes. You call it feeding. Breastfeeding. Or feeding. Right? They actually drink milk and the mouth, tongue, lips, they are stimulated. And according to Sigmund Freud, needs gratification, that is yes. But if it is over-gratified or under-gratified? Over-gratified or under-gratified? What happens? It becomes a conflict. It becomes a conflict. And this conflict is stored in the unconscious mind. If this stimulation of that body part, birth up to 1 year, that is mouth, tongue, and lips, to the life event of feeding, the child seeks gratification. But if it is over-gratified or under-gratified, it becomes a fixation, FIXA, fixation or conflict. ඒ වචන දෙකම කියනවා, fixation or conflict. And this fixation or conflict is stored in the unconscious mind. Fixation or conflict is stored in the unconscious mind. So our behavior, even today, is due to what is stored in our conscious, preconscious, and unconscious mind, and the largest part is the unconscious mind. So our behavior as an adult can be affected because of what is stored in the unconscious mind as conflicts, even during birth up to 1 year. Because of under-gratification or over-gratification of this mouth, it led to a fixation or a conflict. And as an adult, there can be deviations that you can see. What are these deviations? You can see adult fixation example, personality deviations in adults, smoking, overeating, drinking, nail biting, niyaputukani, nail biting. And sometimes they are obsessed with, still as an adult, they are obsessed with the gratification of mouth. So if you're normal, by the age of 1 year, it is gone. But if you get fixation happens due to over gratification or under gratification, as an adult, you will be still seeking gratification of the mouth. So you're obsessed with that. Normal නම් එක නැති වෙන්න ඕනේ. Conflict එකක් තියෙනවා, you're still obsessed with that. Because of that, it's your adult behavior, smoking, overeating, nail biting, drinking, or still being obsessed in the gratification of the mouth can be seen, which is not normal. It's a personality deviation, right? We come to the second stage. But now, one more thing. Now you have to connect it with the personality components of personality. Now, oral stage is from birth up to 1 year. You have only the id component of your personality. Am I right? You have only the id component of your personality. Id is pleasure seeking. Id is pleasure seeking. එහෙමනම්, you know, the child badly needs the gratification, because child can't actually wait. No, not realistic, not moralistic. He's only pleasure seeking. එහෙමනම්, the pleasure seeking stimulation, it is at intense, it's intense in the oral stage. Get my point? You get my point? You need to respond.
Madam, can you please explain that point again?
Right, okay, I will. Now here, this is oral stages from birth up to 1 year only. හරිද? ඒ කාලෙට the child, if you look at the personality components of the child has all the three or child has only one. Because birth up to 1 year only. When it comes to personality, birth up to 1 year, the child has only id component of personality. Am I right?
Yeah, madam.
Yeah, it is driven by pleasure seeking principle. එයාව control කරන්න ඊගොත් නැහැ, super ඊගොත් නැහැ. එහෙමනම් child's gratification need is at its intense. තේරුණා නේද?
Yes,
The
madam.
child is seeking pleasure. හැබැයි ඒක නිසා there's a greater chance that there's over gratification or under gratification feeling in the child. එහෙම එකක් feel වුණොත් ළමයාට, it's a conflict, it's a fixation. It is stored in the unconscious mind. As an adult, you are still engaging in activities where you seek stimulation in the mouth. Ek deviation ekak. Overeating, smoking, nail biting, or any other. Right? Okay. Hope it is understood. Am I right?
Yes, madam.
Anal stage. Anal කියලා කියන්නේ අර anus එකනේ, toilet යන්නේ ඒක. ඒ body part එක. එතකොට according to Sigmund Freud, during the second stage of psychosexual development, that is from birth up to 3 years, the child seeks gratification of anus, that is the body part. The libido is focused on the anus. Toilet yana carrying passing tools. Anal. So, what is the most important body part for the gratification and stimulation of anus? That is toilet training. What is it? Toilet training. So the child enjoys the act of passing tools because it helps the child for the gratification. So id කියන component එක personality එකේ, the child is from 1 year to 3 years. The child needs gratification of the anus. හැබැයි මේ වෙනකොට එයා රියලිස්ටික් වෙලා තියෙනවා. එයාගේ ඊගෝ කම්පෝනන්ට් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා the child can wait, the child can postpone the gratification, right? The most important life event is toilet training. If toilet training is not properly done, the gratification of anus can lead to over gratification or under gratification. And if it is over gratification or under gratification, it is a fixation, it is a conflict, and it will be stored in the unconscious mind. If it is a conflict or a fixation due to over gratification or under gratification, as an adult, there are personality deviations. What are those personality deviations? Orderliness and messiness. Some may be over cleanliness or orderliness all the time, cleaning, arranging. They are obsessed with that, and it affects their happiness and others' happiness as well. If not, they are messy. They are actually not in very clean rooms, and they mess up everything, and very messy person. Those two extremes can happen due to the conflict occurs in the anal stage due to over gratification or under gratification of anus. Are you okay?
Yeah, madam,
Yes, madam.
understood.
Yeah. And then we go to the phallic stage, the third stage, phallic. 3 to 6 years. 3 to 6 years. They say it's the most critical stage of personality development. Most critical stage of personality development. And from 3 to 6 years, the child has all the three components of personality. Innava, ego, innava, super ego, innava. The child balances the personality, ego balances the child's personality. Okay? It is not dominant as it is in the first stage. Right? It control කරන්න පුළුවන් realistic කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා ego. ඒ වගේම sense of morality, right or wrong, super ego ඉන්නවා phallic stage එකේදී. මොකක්ද එයාගේ erogenic zone එක? What is the body part that the child needs stimulation? That is genitals. Genitals. You know what genitals is? And how does the child get this stimulated? The child always touches that body part. The child touches that body part. If you look at 3 to 6 years, they always touch. They actually put toys into their panty, right? And they put toys into their shorts, because then the touch is there, then they touch it. If not, they use their hand and touch it. It's very common. Habai, you should not actually punish the child or sometimes make fun of it. To 6 years, when they touch genitals, adults, they make fun out of it. If not, they punish the child. Both are actually making the child into a conflict. You're putting the child into a conflict by doing both. So you have to ignore it. You have to ignore it, then the child will actually overcome this. Because it's only from 3 to 6 years. If you make fun out of it, or if you punish the child for touching, the child will actually get kind of fixed into that, and it will be stored in the unconscious mind as a conflict. The fixation is there. And there's another important feature that is to be discussed during the phallic stage. During this phallic stage, you know, during this phallic stage, you know, sex parent. If it is opposite sex parents, if it is a boy is attracted to the mother, opposite sex parent. If it is a girl, girl is attracted to the father, opposite sex parent. And this is a natural feeling, right? But the child has the superego also in them now, the personality. So the child knows it's wrong. That is how he feels. He or she feels this is not right. This is wrong. I can't be feeling an attraction towards my father. The girl thinks I can't be feeling an attraction towards the mother. The boy feelings because of the superego component of the personality. Because of that, the child is in a conflict, and child uses a mechanism, a defense mechanism to overcome this. The natural attraction the child gets for the opposite sex parent. What is this defense mechanism that the child uses? The child identifies with the same sex parent. The child identifies with the same sex parent. Now, if it is a son, son tries to be like the father. If it is a daughter, daughter tries to be like the mother. That is how they are facing it. Okay? They try to identify with the same sex parent because it actually helps them to control their feeling towards attraction towards the opposite sex parent. Why do they want to do that? Because now the superego component of personality is there. They feel guilty. So realistic component says identifies with the same sex parent. Right. So I have actually put two words here, Oedipus complex and Electra complex. Oedipus complex and Electra complex. Oedipus complex is the son's attraction to the mother. Electra complex is the daughter's attraction towards the father. I repeat, Oedipus complex is the son's attraction towards the mother. Electra complex is the daughter's attraction towards the father. And they know they are guilty because superego says it's not right. So they try to actually identify with the same-sex parent to actually control this and to be realistic. If conflict if the family is not a happy family together, if the family is not a happy family together, this balancing part is very difficult for the child. If the father is abroad and the child is with the mother, if the mother is abroad and the daughter is only with the father, and even the family live together, they don't actually enjoy being together because they fight. That, of course, put the child into a difficult situation in balancing it out. Then it leads to a conflict and stored in the unconscious mind. If it leads to a conflict and stored in the unconscious mind, as an adult, you can see this is what happens. Deviations and dysfunction, the sexual dysfunction. So some, of course, find it very difficult to make intimate relationships with the opposite sex because of the conflict stored in the unconscious mind due to what happened during the third stage from 3 to 6 years. They can't still actually get attracted to the opposite sex. Sometimes actually will lead to dysfunction as well. So it's very important 3 to 6 කොට අර ළමයාට එන feelings එයාට control කරගෙන එයාට එක pacify කරගෙන manage කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්. They have defense mechanism identification with the same sex parent. But when the family is not together, this is a difficulty for the child and it leads to a conflict and a fixation occurs, and still the child as an adult will have that attraction towards the mother and the father, and because of that they can't actually maintain intimate relationships with the opposite sex. It happens because of that they will deviate from the normalcy and they can become gay or lesbian or whatever. That is it. We'll go to, that is why they say, according to psychoanalysis school of thought, by the age of 5, the adult personality is decided, determined. When you're 5, your adult personality is determined. That is not all the theories in psychology says that, but psychoanalysis school of thought emphasize on that. Okay, we are not going to be a slave only to psychoanalysis. No, we draw from here and there all the theories and go eclectic, right? Mix it up in understanding our mind and others' mind. Okay. Then the latency period. Latency is from 6 to 12, the school-going child in the primary. Latency is from 6 to 12, the school-going child in the primary. And during that stage, there is no focus of libido or a particular body part that the child needs stimulation. But if the child has actually fixed, that if the fixation has occurred in the previous stages, the child might be obsessed with that stage during the latency. So latency is from 6 to 12. There's no specific body part or erogenic zone that the child seeks stimulation. That is why it's none. But there is a danger. If the child has a conflict in the previous stages, the child will be obsessed with that during this stage as well. And there is no adult fixation as such because there's no body part here. The last stage of psychosexual development is genital stage from 12 plus. Now he is not a child, he's an adolescent, she's an adolescent. Now the child needs gratification in genitals. Not like it happened in the phallic stage, it is actually touch. Here in the 5th stage, it goes beyond touch, it's sexuality, okay? And you know, the child reaches sexual maturity in this stage. But if there are fixations in the first 3 stages, the child has difficulties in sexual life and intimate relationships. But if the child has no fixations in the first 3 stages, he is a happy person enjoying sexual maturity and mental health. So the first 3 stages of psychosexual development is very, very important for the balanced personality in adult life. That is it. Are you okay?
Yes, madam.
Are you okay?
Yes, madam. Good.
Now, I can actually, yeah, you're okay. So I will actually play a small video where the summary is given. Give me, it's a very, give me a second. Right. So see whether you can see and hear. Can you see and hear? Can you see
Yes,
and hear? Right, okay. So let
Madam.
me, yeah.
dive right into our first theory of development. We're going to take a look at Freud's psychosexual theory of development. So here's Freud over here, and he proposed that psychological development in childhood takes place in a series of fixed stages called psychosexual stages. And he believed that life was built around this concept of tension and pleasure, and that the buildup of tension could cause a lot of conflicts. So this tension buildup or fixation was due to this concept of libido. Now, libido is a natural energy source that fuels the mechanisms of the mind. And when this libidinal energy is stuck or fixated, as we like to call it in this theory, so that's a term you should get familiar with whenever you hear the psychosexual theory of development. So fixation. So when fixation occurs, it can have a lifelong effect well into adulthood. Because remember, Freud's theory stressed the importance of personality development at childhood. So if fixation occurred in a certain stage in this childhood, it could have a lasting effect well into adulthood. So each of these stages is associated with a particular conflict that has to be resolved in order for the person to successfully advance to the next stage. So Freud, again, stressed that the first 5 years of life are crucial to the formation of adult personality. Now, this idea of libido and fixation is centered around different areas of the body at different stages of growth, which is why he calls it psychosexual development. So you can remember the order of these stages by using this mnemonic that I came up with, and it's called, I'll just run through it. It's old, age.
That's a mnemonic, right?
Carrots.
To remember the 5
Love,
stages.
grapes.
Old is for oral, age is for anal.
Grapes. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room over here. There we go. Okay, so old age parrots love grapes, and that's associated with each of the stages. So the old stands for the oral stage. The age stands for the anal stage. The P stands for
the
the
5
phallic
stages
stage.
now.
Stands for the genital. Talking about how this fixation of libido is focused on different parts of the body. So depending on what stage we're at, there's going to be a certain fixation of this energy at a certain body part. So when it comes to let's pick a different color. Okay, so when it comes to oral, the part of the body that the libido is focused on is the mouth. Oral for mouth. The anal stage is anus, pretty self-explanatory. The phallic stage is the genitals. And I'll go through and explain all this in a bit. The latent actually doesn't have anything. And the genital last stage is, again, the genitals. All right, so let's go through each of the stages. So the first stage, the oral stage, I'm going to try to pick a different color again. Here we go. Okay, so the oral stage is the first stage of personality development, and it occurs between the ages of 0 to 1 years of age. So there we go. And this is when the libido is centered around the baby's mouth. So the infant's primary source of interaction occurs through the mouth, through the rooting and sucking reflex. And obviously the mouth is vital for eating. And the infant derives his or her pleasure from oral stimulation through activities such as tasting and sucking. And because the infant is completely dependent on their parents, their caretakers, who are responsible for feeding the child, the baby also develops this sense of trust and comfort through this oral stimulation. So we can talk about the major development over here as feeding. Now, if there is fixation or conflict that occurs here through the weaning process, so the baby has to learn to wean off in order to advance to the next stage. So if there's a conflict in this process, the child becomes less dependent upon the caretaker. And Freud believed that an individual with fixation at this stage could develop issues with dependency or aggression. So later in adulthood, we see an oral type of personality in people that smoke or bite their fingers, or their nails, or that suck their thumb. So the adult fixation personality. All right, moving on to the second stage. So the second stage is the anal stage, and that occurs between the years of 1 to this toilet training. So when the child gets older, learn how to control his or her bodily needs. Toilet are encouraging positive outcomes and helping the child feel capable and productive. And Freud believed that positive experiences in this anal stage can help serve as a basis for people to feel competent and productive and creative adults. However, not all parents take an encouraging approach to potty training, so if any fixation occurs in this stage, that can lead to problems as an adult. And Freud said that adults who have fixation at this stage could possibly have problems with orderliness and messiness. So these are stage between the males and females. And here Freud came up with two important terms. So he believed that boys actually begin to view their fathers as a rival for their mother's affections. And he called this the Oedipus complex, which describes the feelings of wanting to possess the mother and the desire to replace the father. So this is what little boys go through. And the same thing occurs for females towards, or young girls towards their fathers, which he termed the Electra complex. So that's the major development here, is being able to resolve identification with their mothers. However, if there's a fixation at this stage, that can transform into adulthood and cause sexual dysfunction. So this is the time of exploration in which the sexual energy, this libido, is still present, but it's not really focused on one area. It's not focused on one area of the body, rather. It's starting to be directed into other areas such as intellectual pursuits and social interactions and children developing new skills. So this stage is really important in the development of social and communication skills.
Now, that is the role of the teacher and the school, right? That is the role of the teacher and the school. During the latent stage, the child is in the primary. So the teachers, the school should get the learner to the child to engage in physical activities, extracurricular activities. You don't have to actually get them to be couch potatoes, seated at the same place. Then they will be obsessed with the previous stages. But if the school, if the home can actually promote physical activities and other activities, the child actually can go through a smooth personality development. That is an insight for the teachers, okay?
We can say the socialism aspect and the development of new skills. So this begins around the time that children enter school, and so they become more concerned with the peer relationships, hobbies, and other interests. And play between children starts to become largely confined to children of the same gender. And stage is the genital stage, which occurs from interest. So they're starting to reach sexual maturity till death. So in earlier stages, the focus was solely on individual needs, but in this stage, there's interest in the welfare of others. So if all stages were successfully completed, then the person should be sexually matured and mentally healthy. So
okay,
the adult
that is
fixation
actually the
example
same
is,
thing again, that you watch it because it's an animation, so you can easily remember. So we will now move on to our next theory. We have about another 15 minutes. We will quickly look at it. Right. this one. Before Kohlberg, we will go to this. Erik Erikson, can you see the slide I'm sharing? Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development.
Yes, madam.
Yeah, okay. Now, Erik Erikson also belongs to psychoanalytic school of thought. So he also a follower of Sigmund Freud, and he also believes in the conflicts in childhood stored in the unconscious mind, and they affect the adult personality. He also believes in that. Okay, but the difference between Sigmund Freud and Erik Erikson is Sigmund Freud actually focused on sexuality, that is gratification of bodily needs. But Erik Erikson focuses on fulfillment of social needs. Fulfillment of social needs. He doesn't focus on bodily needs gratification like Sigmund Freud. Instead, Erik Erikson focuses on the fulfillment of social needs the child has from different ages, different social needs to be fulfilled. And if these social needs are not fulfilled, right? If there is no fulfillment of these social needs at different ages, they lead to a conflict. And this conflict is stored in the unconscious mind. That is Erik Erikson, being a psychoanalyst. He also believes in conflicts stored in the childhood traumas, conflicts, fixations stored in the unconscious mind. But he does not talk about sexuality, but he talks about fulfillment of social needs that we are born with. Is it clear to you?
Yes, madam.
Right. So what are these social needs? And if these social needs are not fulfilled, what will be the deviation? Right? That is what he looks at. And according to Sigmund Freud, this psychosexual development happens in 5 stages. But according to Erik Erikson, this psychosocial development, because the child has social needs to be fulfilled. If they are not fulfilled moderately, they become conflicts and stored in the unconscious mind, and you can see adult personality deviations. This fulfillment of social needs happens in 8 stages. You can see stage 1 to 8. And you know, he names his stages by using 2 terms. First one is the social need. Second one is the outcome if not gratified, fulfilled actually. Social need, and social need is not met, what kind of adult personality will be developed? So accordingly, he actually names the 8 stages. So the 8 stages are trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, identity versus confusion, intimacy versus isolation, generativity versus stagnation, integrity versus despair. Right? So the first word is the social need. Second word is the adult deviation. Right. Right. Let's see. So the age is not specified, so I'm telling you the ages. First stage, trust versus mistrust, is from birth up to 1 year. First stage, trust versus mistrust is from birth up to 1 year. So the birth up to 1 year, the child has a social need. That social need to be fulfilled is a sense of trust. A sense of trust. The child wants a trusting relationship with the caregiver, the mother or the caregiver. Right? It's a social need in the child. If that trust is not fulfilled, as an adult, the child will be full of mistrust. He will not accept. He will actually doubt trust. He will be full of mistrust. So if you actually don't trust others, you're an unhappy individual. You have a difficult feeling in you. Right? So according to Erik Erikson, during the first stage, that is from birth up to 1 year, the child needs a trusting relationship with the caregiver. It's the social need in the child. But if that is not fulfilled, the child will be full of mistrust in adulthood. Now, the most important life event for the fulfillment of the social need trust is, again, as it's in Sigmund Freud's 6 first stage, feeding. Feeding. When the child is hungry, the child cries. And when the child cries, the caregiver mother attends to it and feeds the child. That is trusting experience for the child. The child cries because he wets. Yeah, the child cries when he's hungry. Actually, that is what the child is actually during the first stage. It's feeding now, basically. So it becomes the most important life event for Erik Erikson also, not for gratification of mouth as in Sigmund Freud, but here to fulfill the need for trusting relationship with the caregiver. The child cries when it is hungry and the mother attends to it constantly without delaying. So the trust is built. If the trust is not built, as an adult, the child is full of mistrust. Okay? If the child's sense of trust is fulfilled through feeding on consistent basis, the child is full of trust and happy as an adult. Now, I want to tell you some research done using African and Australian tribal societies. Now, the sociologists, they saw there are Australian tribal societies. They are very happy. They trust each other. They are actually, the community is full of trust. Because of that, they're very happy. Okay? And sociologists saw some African tribal societies. As adults, they are actually suspect each other. They mistrust each other. So because of that, it's enmity. They're not happy societies, communities. So they wanted to apply Erik Erikson and see what were their actually feeding practices during the first stage. And they learned in the African tribal societies where they are full of mistrust, during the first year, the mother has to actually go to the field with the father. So the child is taken to the field and the child is hung on a tree branch. So child goes on crying, nobody hears. But when the mother feels like, so I should feed the child, she comes and feed the child. But when the child cries, nobody is to attend to the child. So those societies are full of mistrust as adults, because during that first stage, the child's social need for trust is not fulfilled. And in the Australian tribal societies, the mother is not supposed to go and help the father in the field. They can be at home and look after the child. And then because of that, the child is regular basis consistently attended to. and the child builds a trust. That social need is fulfilled. And as adults, they are full of trust and happy. Got my point?
Yes, madam.
Got my point?
Yes, madam.
I asked you a question. I'm 26 now. There are 8 stages to discuss, so we have no time to discuss all the 8 stages, Nisa. We will continue from there next week. I want to tell you, I forgot to actually send you the materials last week. So I'll be sending this PowerPoint. It has Piaget, it has Sigmund Freud, it has Erik Erikson, and the other theories also we are discussing under child lifespan development. So I'm sending this slides through Mr. Rishad for you to go through. Okay?
Okay, madam.
Right. Can I leave the meeting then?
Okay, madam.
Okay. So bye-bye. Good night.
Good night,
Okay,
madam.
Bye,
bye.
madam.